All right. That looks correct over here. What up, everybody? How are you out there? Welcome back to Yama. This is Thinker St. James. With me on Monday nights is the homie, the creative player himself, Chase Parton, a fellow soldier in the war against technical fucking difficulties. Chase, how you doing, brother?
Now that we got it going, it's another great day. Hopefully
Right?
to get another one down in the books.
Hey, man, we had some really nice fights over the weekend, so technical bullshit aside, we can at least have some nice reminiscing about these combat situations that were taking place on this card. I like this card, actually. I think a lot of people were sleeping on it because it was, not super heavy on the big names, but, man, a little fight night that delivered, I would say.
Well, I was actually gonna say, yeah, this is the one where you don't know Elite. What is up, my guy? All right, so
What up,
sorry.
Elite?
Well, this is the one where like you don't know the names, but the faces when they show up, you're like, oh, okay, so this is who this is. And man, I
Right.
swear, this is what you want out of a fight night. Like this is what the casual viewer should be like. Oh, this is free. Like, oh, I can just like turn this on like ABC or whatever random thing they show up. Obviously not this one, but they can just show up and get a good glimpse of what the competition should be like.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of times the what we've always said about these cards is that you're seeing these fighters. Sometimes, if they're a little bit later in the career, it might not always be the case, but a lot of times you're seeing fighters who are somewhat early in their path and finding out what their style and their strengths and weaknesses are going to be going down, the road and into the future. So, I mean, I think it's very important to be aware of these cards because really, like, for exactly the situation that we were in going into this one, it's like, okay, well, the more familiar you are with these people as they continue on down the road, the more that you'll know things like what happened in the Piero Rodriguez fight are potentials
Right.
that you might want to keep your money away from if you're putting something down on the parlays and things of that nature. But of course, we'll get into that in a moment.
Another
Um,
great thing that I say about this one is you get a good glimpse of what stupid stuff can go on, and it's just you got everything in this card really. Like I don't know how to explain it. Subs, knockouts, disqualifications. Like can't ask for
Dude,
much more.
as I was watching it on the stream, I did the replay stream yesterday. Thank you to everybody who came around for that. By the way, very nice chill way to spend a Sunday. I appreciate all of y'all. When I was doing that, as I'm watching the card and seeing all the stuff that's happening, I'm like, man, I just had the video that came out today on the channel. Thanks to everybody who's been watching that as well. But I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, bro, I just at the time I hadn't even fully finished that one. I was finishing up the editing. I'm like, I'm gonna get this one out either tonight or tomorrow, and then now I'm gonna have to do a Yema right back to back with that shit because of how much fucking goofball shit was on this card. I mean, like there wasn't it wasn't like over the top goofiness like how it was in Atlantic City, but like there was enough that I could absolutely pull a couple of pieces of information for. So very possible that we'll still get a Yema episode out with some of this in there. So, anywho, let's start off from the beginning. Vanessa Demopoulos versus Emily Ducote. What were your thoughts, my dude?
So funny enough, I clearly didn't do much research, and I apologize to everybody because I didn't know Vanessa was from Ohio. So I should have had my money down on her because when I saw her, I was like, wait a minute, I know who this is. Little Monster. Okay, this kind of rings a bell. And then they're like Cleveland, Ohio. I'm like, well, goddamn. And it was kind of interesting because I didn't bet, but I had some interest. Like I had money down on it because I thought Emily Ducote kind of won that one, even though my girl Vanessa was kind of putting in some work at times.
So what I will say is that this would have been one of the ones that I had at least somewhat of a knowledge of going into because I know that I've seen them both fight before. And Vanessa Demopoulos I'm actually pretty familiar with because I remember her. She, as I said on the other stream, I'm in love with a stripper. She was the one that was a former dancer and is known for the post fight celebration of jumping into the arms of her interviewer. So I at least remembered her from that. But what I don't think that I recalled so strongly was how strong out the gate she comes, man. Like what I said after this fight was that if you could combine the styles of both women into one fighter, that would be a dangerous fighter because Vanessa Demopoulos, like I can see the opinion that that it might have been a slight robbery. I don't agree with that. I personally think it was 2-1 Vanessa. Or 2-1 to Vanessa. But I could, but if it had gone the other way, I wouldn't have been mad at it because the controlled countering of Dakota was so clean and her composure was so nice. That's why I would say that the two of them together would make a really, if you could take like the best elements of both, would be a really, really strong showing for one person, because Vanessa just comes out with a great aggression, a great amount of tenacity in her attacks early, and kept that pace really nicely throughout the entire fight. And Dakota has extremely nice countering and is just very calm and like logical in her attacks. What I said in the first round of the fight was that as Dakota was as it was getting a little bit later into the fight, I was saying she needs to probably get a little bit more angry. She needs to get a little bit more active, like not maybe a little bit outside of the composure a little bit, because I thought that Vanessa was putting the combinations together. She really was throwing some pretty wild combos in there for early in the fight, and then kept those in the third round. So I had it 2-1 Vanessa, but I could see it going the other way because of the really, really crisp technical work of Emily. But overall, I thought a really, really strong fight to start the card off.
Yeah, I was actually, so the word that you said, crisp. Emily Dakota, she was looking really, really sharp. Like, wow, like the counter, like, and she was doing too much countering towards the end. Like, she wasn't trying to initiate something that can, maybe sway the round for her. And I was going to make a comparison for Vanessa. I know this is a bad one because, Pantoja's a champion, but she has this, like, tiredness look, but she doesn't get tired. Like, she's still going to slug it out until the end of the fight. And, and that's really what she was doing. She was throwing some slugs out there. And I think there was one point where she caught a head kick, and it was like a really clean one. I believe it was this fight. And
she landed one. You're talking about her?
Oh, maybe it? Okay, maybe it was her then. Yeah. So there was that moment right there stood out. That neither of them finished it, I guess, but it was still a really good fight, and I actually enjoyed it.
Actually, come to think of it, that she might. That I'm second guessing myself on that.
I want to say she got caught with the head.
It might have been because it was whoever got it. It was one that landed like on the shoulder after it made the contact. So I do remember that. Like it got up there and then it like lingered on the shoulder for a second. I remember saying something about that. But either way, what I can make a comparison about Vanessa as well, if I may. Also a pretty high praise, but I would say like she reminds me in the way that she fights a little bit of like a female Justin Gaethje. Like she comes out so aggressive, you kind of want to like shake her a little bit sometimes, be like, yo, calm it down a little bit, rein it in a little bit. But very explosive and very entertaining to watch. So at the same time, can kind of go both ways with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that was definitely one to start out with, and I have no complaints on it. I was interested.
For a card that had 4 women's fights on it, I how it is with fans a lot of the times. You see a lot of women fights, it's like, oh, automatically they there's a perception there for some people that it's going to be less entertaining or whatever. I thought this was a very nice showing for both ladies and a good way to start the card. So good opener there. Much better than this next fight. I was not impressed in this fight very much at all, really.
Yeah, now that we go to it, the only thing I remember is my guys from Mongolia, and I was like, wow, okay, hold on, now I gotta keep an eye open, because I bet on Cladeson, and then after I saw the fight going, there's just not much that I remember from it. Like,
well, what I remember saying when I was watching it, I have the benefit of having just done this yesterday, so I have some of these pretty fresh in my mind. I believe it was this fight, I'm pretty sure it was, where Cladeson was going to the well so many times to try to get these trips, not getting them, and then getting taken down himself. So it was like, dude, you are seeing that you're making mistakes in real time and not doing anything to adjust to those mistakes in the moment, not being able to get out of those mistake situations when you're now on the ground and in a dominated position, and then continuing to go back to it. That was the thing that was tripping me up the most. It's like, look, dude, mistakes happen in fights. Of course, you know that it's you have a completely open-ended situation coming at you. You never know what you're going to get from the opponent necessarily. So you're going to slip up every once in a while with something that might be catching you off guard. But when you know that this thing has not worked twice, 3 times, you're going for a 4th. You're going for a 4th time, bro. That's just that's a low fight IQ move, man. and that really bothered me. So, and then the other side of it was Alatang he was getting the better of Clayton when he was clinching him up and not doing much with it. And so it was kind of like it was just like one side was making mistakes and not able to overcome it. The other side was capitalizing on those mistakes and then coasting. And I was just like, this is not a strong showing from either side with the way that this is playing out.
Well, you can honestly look at the numbers, and I didn't know it was this bad. I mean, 3 takedowns, isn't that crazy, but 8 minutes of control time, and it wasn't like a dominant performance kind of deal. Like, I mean, the striking numbers, 70 to 107, like, and you even got outstruck on significant strikes, but like 8 minutes of control time, that's a lot of time to get something done, ground and pound, get a sub, at least close to a sub or an attempt.
Those, if it was what was the final number on the control time?
8 minutes and 16 seconds.
8 minutes and 16 seconds, bro. That felt like 14 minutes 30 seconds. I swear to God. Like, I mean, because it was the one thing I will say about Clayton is that he was responding in the opening of the second round, with an urgency. You know what I mean? He had the understanding that I dropped that round. I need to be a little bit more active. So he was trying to get some stuff going for himself, but it was a frustrated urgency. What up, Rage Quit? How you doing, brother? So when he was coming back, like in that second round, trying to set something up for himself, it was out of frustration as opposed to intention, and that's also a very dangerous way to fight, because when you're frustrated like that, you're more prone to making mistakes just naturally. So, it was an unfortunate situation that he got taken down as much as he did, and then was just unable to get back to his feet ever. I mean, like, and the thing that I noticed too was that Alatang it wasn't like there were occasions where he was steering him away from the cage, like getting him so that it wasn't such an easy thing for him to get up, like negating some of those situations where he could get himself back to his feet. He was doing an okay job with that, but not like the entire time. Not when it's 8+ minutes of it. You know what I mean? So it's like, to not be able to do it like smacked of the Robellis fight in a lot of ways, where it's just like, bro, you got taken down and there's just nothing that's just the end of your road right now.
Yeah. The card, like we said, it's interesting, but I think there was 3. I want to say this is one of 3 where the first half of each round was on the feet, and then one person just got on top of them for the rest of it and just laid on them for the second half.
Absolutely. There's definitely I think 1 or 2 or 3 even coming up with that.
Not to say that's not a great performance or a good display of mixed martial arts. Like I said, the casual viewer is going to get a showing of it all, I guess. So
I mean, yeah, well, what I always go back to when I talk about these kinds of situations is the roadmap to victory. What are you doing in whatever position that you're in to advance yourself towards a victory? That's what you want to see. And that's why I was not impressed with Alatang Hele, because bro, when you're getting gifted these takedowns, I mean, like, these are silver platter situations. I mean, like, and good on him for being able to get the trips when they happened and end up in a dominant position. I'll give him that. But when you're there, you got to do something with it. I mean, like, we're sitting here watching all of this. I think at one point I even said, if Clayton Rodriguez gets taken down one more time, I think people are going to start crying. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of these situations. It's going to be so much more boredom coming our way, and ultimately that's what it ended up being. So not a really strong showing on either side, but I mean, a victory for Alatang Hele, and deserved based on everything we just said.
Yeah, one last thing, I guess.
Sure.
Now that we see this one, and then there was 2 more that happened, I'm surprised we didn't hear once, like, come on, get active, let's go, before we stay. Like, I don't think there was that moment where the refs tried to stand him up. They just let him wrestle him, I guess,
Yeah, and that's always going to be very ref by ref. You got some guys who will just let that kind of go forever, and then everything in between for that. Because actually, I made a comment about that Big Dan Miragliato was a referee on this card, and he's one that will not let the clinch against the cage go for very long. Like, there were a couple of times where he was, hey, come on, get active on that kind of thing. But you're right, when it came to the ground stuff, not as much of that. And really, I mean, you can kind of make, I guess, slight argument for the referee that if they're actively in movement situations, like it's kind of hard to tell them to stand up when one guy is actively scooting and the other guy is like negating that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that there's some argument to be made there, but when it's as much as it was, you're definitely right. I mean, we weren't seeing any of that, and there probably were a couple of situations where it could have been. I mean,
There's
should have
another
been.
fight that we'll talk about here soon that has a better display of not standing up the action. But I think this one right here, maybe they maybe could have said it once or twice.
Sure, sure, absolutely, I agree. And I mean, and that's the other thing too is that it's ref by ref in the application of that as well, because sometimes you'll hear the ref say, "Come on, guys, get active," and they'll just keep saying that throughout the entire rest of the round. It's like, bro, I mean, you're telling them to do it. Like at some point, stand them the fuck up. I mean, like, there's only so many times you can give the warning, you know.
Right.
But all right, anyway, so that was that fight. But so what do you say about this disqualification here? I mean, I would say that this was probably the lowest fight IQ move of the evening.
Oh, for sure. And the person that she was going against, honestly, is one of the more scary women on the roster. And the fact that she went out sucks. But yeah, it was pretty stupid. I was watching it and I must have looked away because I didn't see the first headbutt. On the second one, I was like, well, dang, like what is she doing? And then I see the replay and I'm like, yo, like what was she actually doing? Because this is something you don't even see that often, and you see this position. What like it's a common
All the
position
time,
in
yeah,
the
all
sport.
the
Like,
time, yeah.
there's no reason for her to be like, I was trying to go down. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what?
No, yeah. No, absolutely. In fact, I think that I had pretty much almost to a T the exact situation that you described myself. Like I didn't initially see the first one, and then I saw the second one and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, definite. I mean, definite foul, of course." And then same thing, saw the replay and was like, "Oh, twice, two in a
Yeah.
row." Because what happened was I heard them say she had been warned, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder where that first one came from," because I didn't hear the war. There are things
Right,
going
she's
on,
in top
obviously.
control, like things are
Yeah,
going good for her, like
and that's the other thing that I was going to bring up is that I mean that first round was kind of close. I mean it wasn't like a super runaway on either side. I mean you could probably make the case that Carnelossi took it. I would say, but like. Rodriguez was coming back. Like, I mean, she like that second round, it smacked to me of the Igor Severino Andre Lima fight where, Severino was arguably winning that fight and then goes and does this ridiculous bite. I mean, like, mind-boggling choice. And I kind of felt the same way there with Rodriguez. I'm like, you were really starting to mount something nice there. The fact that you were in top control to begin with showed that you had done a decent amount in that first part of the round to get to that position, and then for you to just throw the entire fight away in such a blatantly stupid way. I mean, like we talk a lot about the differences in like the training of these fighters and where they train, the language barrier, these kinds of things. I remember that conversation being very strong after the Piotr Jan knee heard round the world, I mean, and what I had said to that is that I don't care what fucking language you speak, there has to be a fundamental understanding of the unified rule set. Get that motherfucker translated to whatever language you speak if you're going to compete in this sport.
yeah, no, absolutely. And so, with the fight with Carnelossi, they brought in the doc, and after it was about 3 minutes gone, I was like, it don't look like she's just laying on her back having a good time. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
It was a headbutt, but she was starting to lose the fight, so I'm not going to pull the card that she took a DQ dub because she could, and she probably was going to get away with that. But all in all, I knew that fight was probably not going to continue. Piero, I don't know what the hell you're on.
And I kind of said the same thing because I was like, as we're starting to get into the 3.5, 4 minutes range, it's like, all right, I mean, you can kind of see where this is going at this point. I think that, call me a mark, you know what I mean? Call me a mark all you want on this one. I guess maybe I'm a little naive. In my heart of hearts, I always want to believe that a fighter and a professional fighter has the spirit and the determination to want to continue. I think that that's just something that like I want to believe. Now, whether it's true or not in every situation, obviously it's only the fighter is ever going to really know how bad one of those kind of situations really is. I'll admit it. I didn't think Aljo was faking at first. So, again, Mark, you can call me one all you want, and I will gladly accept that. However, it did look like it was like, if you saw the trajectory of that second headbutt, it really did look like kind of right on the button. So if it hit the nerve, it could have been a little bit worse than it might have seemed from an outsider's perspective. Hard to say. Either which way, though, it's a situation that never should have happened in the first place, and that is what I will always go back to with this. You need to have a better understanding. I mean, like, and I'm even being a little bit generous to Piera by saying that it's a lack of understanding, as opposed to just doing something that is illegal, right, blatantly in front of the referee. I mean, that you couldn't even hide that shit. I mean,
bullshit, roughhousing.
Yeah, really. I mean, and recklessly. I mean, I am not one to ever. I talk about the rules a lot on the Emma channel. I cover the unified rules and the commissions and all that kind of stuff because I find that stuff fascinating. I'm never one to say, that you should ever be going out of your way to break the rules. But if you are going to do it as blatantly as she did, there was no two fucking ways about it. It was right front and center. Mark Smith was looking right at her and had just given her a warning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on, man.
So, I mean, final thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
Piera is someone to look out for because I've actually lost money on her twice now. In technicality, I didn't bet this time. But the first time, I'm pretty sure I lost money on her. But I'm still on the lookout for her because she was starting to turn it around until, she was just on some stupid stuff. And
I agree.
Carnelossi, in my opinion, she had a good first round, but all that muscle, man, I don't think it works for her. She ain't able to keep it up. She gets taken to the ground, and then she's got to get a headbutt win,
Yeah, I mean, you make a very good point there. She has one of the most defined backs and trap regions that I've ever seen in my life on a woman. Like,
I think Islam has a crazy back, but like she was walking around like the Incredible Hulk, man.
Yeah,
like,
she is
extreme. Not explain it.
But so that being said, the follow-up point that you make is extremely good. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. I mean, if she's carrying that much weight on the upper part of her body and not able to be effective on the ground, I mean, of course, with a headbutt situation, that's, what I had said after the fight was over is that it's very unfortunate that it ended that way, not only because it was a disqualification and all the bullshit, but also because we were robbed of the third round in a fight that was arguably 1-1. I mean, maybe you could give Piera that first round, possibly. It was close. So, I mean, I have to see what the judges had it. But either way, going into that third round, I would have liked to have seen that third round. So, kind of hard to say now, but yeah, I think that this really needs to be a learning lesson for both fighters. Obviously, Piera, we know what she needs to learn on that, but for Carnelossi as well, shore up the holes in the game. It's basic fundamental stuff. And when you have that much upper, because Jessica Andrade is a good example of when, she's a spotty example of it, but she is an okay example of when you can have that much upper body mass and still be able to effectively move and effectively get out of potentially dangerous situations at times. I mean, like I said, she's a spotty example of it, but one that, she has a similar frame, nowhere near as much as this one.
I mean, that we're going to start seeing soon is, Kayla. She's got all that upper body, and she's a wrestler. Like, that's
absolutely
the main thing. So the fact that, she's probably not going to gas, and she's going to be able to, do her little shoot takedowns, judo throws the whole time. And if she gets on top, that's a lot of control time, and she's probably going to get something done there. Whether it's, ground and pound with some elbows, or the sub.
Yeah, no, Kayla's the real deal, man. I mean, I've been following her through the PFL. I mean, not watching every fight, but I've been well aware of her for years now. And yeah, I mean, she's gonna be a definite problem. Good example of that, what you were just talking about. So, so Carnelossi, go back to the drawing board. Take your win, quote unquote. But anywho,
all right, moving on.
Yo, so Magomed. For some reason this entire time I've been calling him Magomed, and that is not his name. His name is Abus Magomedov. I would say really, really solid performance from him on this fight.
Perfect performance for what you expect. You just go from the main event of a fight night or whatever with Sean Strickland, and then he becomes champ. I get you lost, but like, you're up there for a reason. And then now you're the fourth fight on a on this card.
The
Like,
disrespect.
so like you definitely have to put on a performance like this. I mean, 6 or 7 on takedowns, 11 minutes of control time. He didn't get hit. He didn't even get hit 20 times. And like the ground. So this is the one that I was talking about. There was no need to, tell him to come on, guys, let's get active, let's do this. Like, bro,
Right.
Boost was working. Like he was on top, and he's got good size for the way he wrestles. He can stay on top, and he mixes in the strikes, and he's holding you down, and it was just a real good performance. It's exactly what should have happened. I mean,
Yeah, it was a very nice performance against Warley Alves, who has been around for a while. I mean, these are all things that Warley Alves should be well aware of at this point, like what he's getting into in a fight like this. And I mean, whether he was aware or not, Abus just really able to do what he needed to do. I mean, yeah, really nice use of chain wrestling, going with the flow. I talk about that all the time. It's being able to make the small movement adjustments. That is, to me, one of the highest level like fight IQ things that a fighter can have, because having great power and being able to strike is all well and good, but when you are in a close range tight situation in a grappling exchange, it's all about small movements. It's the tiniest negation of your opponent's movement to get yourself into the next position that you want to be in and they don't want to be in, and he did a really, really nice job of that. So really all 3 rounds, I mean, it was a really kind of a one-sided affair.
I would like to point out also, everybody wants to talk about, Abus's cardio, which fair enough. He did gas out against Sean Strickland. And I won't sit here and act like he didn't gas out in this fight, but he was wrestling this entire fight. So I think I would like to believe that that's taken a bigger toll on him, and he was still able to finish this and, still look dominant through the end of it. And I think that's just working good for him. Now he can stand, and then he has like a wrestling to rely on, and it didn't look like it terribly ruined everything else with the game. So shout out to Abus, man. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you're speaking facts on the what you were saying about him, going from the height of headlining to all the way down. It is a slightly odd kind of a shift there, but I think that they might have been hot-shotting him a little bit, even giving him that main event in the first place. So it is kind of a little bit odd, but it was a long time off. I mean, it was a decent little layoff there. I mean, did he fight between that? I mean, did he have anything?
So.
Yeah, is this just
one.
straight up? That was the
year off, right? No, he
lost. He lost to Kaio. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is I mean, still, I mean, he's it's not like he's been like crazy active between those fights.
Maybe
those
not a bad loss as of right now.
Or exactly him or Sean. So I mean, really, you're fighting pretty high level competition on both sides. So maybe this is a little bit of a situation where a hot shotting was a little bit premature. But he does have a decent amount of fights on his record, so I can kind of see where that would come from the organization's standpoint. But if it is a situation of just, hey, you need to get a little bit more proficient before you are in those kind of super high level competitions, then good adjustments, really. I mean, I am always for a fighter taking a little bit of time to assess, you know what I mean? Get back into training and get yourself, fixing the leaks. I mean, really, that's all it comes down to. And if the wrestling base is what he really needs to rely on, then he's got to be making sure, because that's where I was leading to all of that, is he's got to make sure that he is really, really sound with it, because at middleweight, I mean, there are going to be the Kyle Bahayos of the world. I mean, they're shooting up even farther than him. And was that wrestling good enough to stand with them now? That's, I guess, going to be the question going forward. I mean, against a guy like Warley Alves, been around for a while, as I said, good display there. A little bit of a blank canvas based on what he was getting back from it. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next thing is for him, because if he ends up in a fight where he's got another dude who is just as proficient in that department, then all of the cardio issues that you were talking about could become more of a, come into play a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, but nice showing there. And you like to see it after a pair of losses for sure. So. All right. This is the funniest one of the evening.
Well, so let me start with this, and then I'll lead into it. because looking at the numbers, Melissa Gatto was on it. 120 for 163. Like, Jesus, she was popping her up. Like, no wonder she had that perfect shot that ended it. Like, she was just knocking everything down. And then,
She looked
7 minutes
fantastic.
of control time is like,
Yeah,
she was just out there.
she looked excellent in this fight. You know, fucking titty knockout or not,
Yeah.
she was doing absolutely everything right leading up to that, and then that was an odd little cherry on top to everything. But again, legal strike. I cannot stress this enough to people, like, because I saw this discussion going on in the various discussion groups that I'm in, saying that strikes to the chest aren't legal for women. Yes, the fuck they are. It was an entirely legal strike, and really, what I had said on the watch along, I don't know if it's a respect thing, why women don't strike to the chest more. Like, I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they don't think it's as effective of a thing to do. I really don't know what the reasoning is, but it is completely legal and a perfectly sound strategy. I mean, why not? I don't understand what the apprehension there is.
Yeah, and I want to say the last boob strike we got, the same situation, where she walked away, and then I'm pretty sure the ref gave her a timeout. So, and then this one, the ref let it go. I was cool with it. I was like, why is she walking away? And, that perfect shot right on right on the button. I guess it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I have never taken a direct shot to the tit before. I don't know if there is that one sweet spot that really turns it into what happened here. But either which way, I mean, again, effective. And Elite makes a good point in the chat saying, yeah, we could see more breast strikes now. I don't see why not. I don't see why that should not be the case. I mean, and I think that this is a slightly odd conversation to be having in general, but if there are women with larger breasts, that maybe that factors into the damage of it. Again, I don't know the science behind all of that part of it, but there are fighters I'm sure all of us can think of one or two who are a little bit larger in that region, and if that is something that is an effective strategy, it is legal. Do it.
To bridge into something, also with
Mm-hmm.
Melissa. Okay, so boob strike aside, whether that was intentional or not, she was
Right.
also doing these elbow strikes when Tamirez was like, trying to hold her on the ground and trying to pin her down. She was elbowing her shoulders. She was out. She was really trying to,
Active.
create some new stuff out there, man. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a great example of what I think I even did say that on the watch along. A great example of what Alatong Hele could have been doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You get, if you're
make
going to
something
be
happen.
exactly. If you're going to be in these situations that are essentially neutralizations. You're in a situation where you're being clinched up. You're being held down. There, you can still be active. Granted, you want to be strategic so that you're not getting put into a worse position, but there's always something that can be done, and it looks a lot better optically to be active when you're in a neutral state than to just be sitting there and taking it. For sure, never accept the position.
Yeah, for what I see, with Melissa, she has this mindset where like, and a lot of people don't, where they need the fight to be clean. Like, okay, Cyril Gahn is a good example. He needs it to be clean. It needs to be perfect for him to get his technique off.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, this type, she's gonna make something happen. No matter what you're doing, you could be holding her. She'll find the elbow. If you're not gonna hold her, then she'll punch you. Whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, and really, I mean, it's like you said, all of the the ending aside, really just very nice performance in general from start to finish. She was looking really fantastic out there, and I mean, Tamira Vidal is she's not a slouch in the fights that I'd seen her before. I mean, because I remember La Trattora, right, the tractor. I remembered her off of that. So I mean, like I have seen her do her work before. So it's like, if Melissa Gatto can continue with the technical elements of her game as nicely as they are against some of the higher level competition, definitely one to keep an eye on for sure. Thought it
Yeah.
was a very strong showing. And
All right, next.
Elite's got jokes in the chat. That was really fun. That got me. is he does have a well. I mean, you know, is it Gyno or is it not Gyno? I don't know. People say that about Josh Emmett too, by the way.
Really?
I've heard that. I have heard that that Josh Emmett, you know, that they there's been some allegations there. Whether they're true or not, I can't say that. But yeah, I don't even. What I always say about that, you were talking about gynecomastia, which is often associated with steroid use. Prove it. That's all I always say of it. You know what I mean? If they're testing clean, you know. I don't apply that, and because especially after I did that entire video about the USADA UFC USADA breakup or whatever, like all of the stuff that I learned that didn't go into the video about the testing procedures and these kinds of things, like, you know, it's pretty. There are always going to be ways to cheat the system, but it is pretty hard. So I mean, I don't like to just blanketly apply that like out of pocket. I think that's a little out of line to do, but. You know, if it's there, then prove it. That's all I say about that.
Yeah, I get you.
So
Okay.
going from one nice performance to another extremely nice performance.
Yeah, so I would actually say, like, to be able to finish this fight and you don't even land or throw 10 strikes, I mean, the wrestling is pretty good. I mean, it's not even just good, it's way better than good. And, you know, being from France, you don't see it very often. You don't see this build. I mean, he's just one of those unique guys, you know? So you don't see it often. That's another reason why, you know, people show up and they can do amazing things and you don't see it often. I guess that's really the best way to say it. But the striking is interesting to note that in that division, he's gonna, you know, he might see some people with some good striking. And the wrestling,
Absolutely.
if it gets stuffed, what's he gonna do then? I mean, he's got to have a second option here.
I mean, that is facts times a million. Because I mean, like, you know, we're 10-0. He's obviously on a hot streak. I mean, you know, and riding that out from the beginning of the you know, the endeavor here. It's the technical elements of the wrestling were undeniably good. I mean, like, it was just another really nice example of position, get the sub. I was very impressed. You'd put someone like that up against. I mean, Drekus is obviously a little bit high to be you know, saying that he would be against, but I mean, you know, guys of that caliber and the elite level, you know, we're talking some pretty good wrestlers out there. And at the heavier weights, I mean, there's a lot. The heavier that you get, I think, at least the way that I view it, the more complex the wrestling becomes. You're talking about a lot more body weight. You're talking about a gas tank that is just inherently different than the smaller weight classes. There's a lot more considerations that you have to have fighting in the heavier weight classes if you're going to be wrestle heavy. So, because I mean, Jailton Almeida is a fantastic example of where the cardio can sometimes be good enough to take it through 5 rounds and you know, and enough body weight and effectiveness to hold it down. But you get caught, you know? So you make a very good point that it wasn't a full-on display of all of the skill set. I don't know what his striking is like. The France aspect of it definitely does play a factor. That it's not to be rude. It's just to be factual. You know, France still an emerging market. He's certainly one now to keep an eye on from that region. I said that on the watch along. It's like, yeah, you know, France needs more people coming up to these elite levels and giving them someone to root for. He's certainly one of them. We'll have to see what the striking is like to back that up and what's going to happen when he gets into a situation that's hairier than that. Because the other thing I wanted to mention about Tokos is that he probably what I would say a little bit of another kind of blank slate. It wasn't he wasn't countering the wrestling in a way that to me was very, like, obviously it wasn't effective. He got submitted, but leading up to that, he wasn't doing enough of the small movements. He wasn't doing enough to get himself out of dangerous situations to the point where he ended up in the submission, you know, position. And then also that and I say this with all due respect, he tapped a little quick. I will say that as well. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't rear naked. I'm not saying that you know, that he would have not tapped eventually, but he got that neck crank in, and it was just one. You know, I mean, it wasn't even more than 3 seconds, I would say.
Yeah, Tokos was more, like Elite just said, he was more worried about taunting and talking to the crowd, and he wasn't he. I mean, it looked like he knew he didn't really have a chance on the ground there, and that's really what happened. So,
Mm.
and yeah, in France, with the striking, you got Cyril Gane and Man and Fioro, but like this guy, he's a whole new thing here. So I'm excited,
Absolutely.
and the size he's got for what he does wrestling wise is very, very interesting. I don't know how, like, that's just the best way to say it.
Yeah, and that's what I was just getting at before is that it's real. The size is, I think, going to be the biggest factor in all of that, because the technical wrestling is definitely there. He's got a big frame, so it's good. It's good that
Long
he's able
arms,
to.
long,
Yeah,
strong arms. Like that rear naked choke came quick. I mean, it might have just
absolutely.
been there.
In fact, I mean, I'm never really one to necessarily suggest it if they're comfortable where they're at, but moving down a weight might not be a bad idea for him. For those reasons, if he can make the weight.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's kind of built like Buckley, kind of short, stockier. That might not be a bad thing, but who knows how much he's cutting already.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, again, then it goes back to what we were just talking about in the Abuse fight, where you've got killers there too. So I mean,
yeah,
so
okay.
right on. But good, yeah, really nice performance for him. Good win.
Oh gosh, okay. So this one, wow.
This is a little bit of a wacky one. I mean,
Australian
good
Dalen
but wacky.
Turner showed up. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That
talk
is
about
so
a whole lot of
crazy.
action in one round, man.
Yeah, they came to tussle. I'll say that. And Tom got it done. It was a good performance. He looked really good. He got into trouble though, and he did come back from it. So that was a good thing to see. I mean, obviously not a good thing to see, but now that's on his resume. Like I got knocked down and I was able to get up and still finish it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, he got dropped really bad, like put on his
exactly.
butt. Like,
It's true, and that was the big prevailing thought from the circles that I was running in about talking about this, is that it was a nice display of a lot of effective striking, and really good with the range. Tall, long guy. But he, that chin is something to always now keep in the back of your mind. Anytime that you see him, because I mean the strike that he took that got him in that situation. I mean, it wasn't like super like long range or anything, but I mean, it was like, it didn't look like it had like crazy pepper on it. It just looked like it caught him in the right spot. And when you're throwing the way that he was throwing, because he's, like I said, he's a very rangy guy, you leave yourself more open to counters. I think that what I would say for Tom, that would be a good like note for his own training, would be to probably be a little bit more measured in the use of your range. You know that you're tall and long. You know that you're going to have a little bit more of a size on some of these guys when you're fighting them. If you utilize that a little bit more cautiously, I mean, cautiously might not be the right word, but like utilize it a little bit more strategically, so that you're not always, going for the long shots, not going, coming from the outside as much. Like, draw them in. Really,
yeah.
what I would like to see out of him is a little bit, when we're going to definitely talk about the main event, but I think that if he can mix up the feints the way that Lerone Murphy was doing it a little bit more, like keep people guessing a little bit more, so that you can draw them in a little bit, play a little bit of the longer game, because going out running gunning, I think, is not going to be a long-term effective strategy for him, and I think he should definitely learn from that in this fight.
Yeah, that was actually the point. You said it right when I was thinking it. He just needs to, going forward looks good. Let's get the going back. Let's get the side to side, circle around,
Yeah.
Let's see I mean, 6 for 6 on the leg kicks. Okay, he was doing fine. Okay, I'll give it to him. But he did get dropped. He did get up.
Yeah,
And
no,
it
no,
says
stats were good.
Yeah, yeah, and it says he finished him with the knee, which, okay, sure. I mean, he did catch him and he did fall over from it, but it was, some punches or whatnot. But it was, all in all, that was good from Tom.
Yeah, it was a good strong showing, and 7-1, still early. So I mean, these are the fights. This is why we watch these fight nights with the dudes coming up. These
Right.
are the fights that are going to define the later part of your career. What do you take away from these fights? What I had said. I referenced Justin Gaethje a little bit earlier. What I had said about Justin Gaethje is that I think Trevor Whitman did a good job of reining in the wildness that he had earlier in his career, to the point where he was able to continue being at a higher elite level for as long as he was, always as entertaining. Because when you have a lot of explosiveness, you got to be careful with the way that you utilize it. So, and that comes with experience. That's not something that you can necessarily know off the bat, especially when you're fighting lower competition. I mean, you're when you're running through guys, it just makes sense to run through guys, right? But then you start getting to the point where it's not that same situation, adjust. And that, I think, is what Tom should take away from this. Learn from these fights. You got the win. So, I mean, that's you don't have to worry about that. At least you're not sitting there having to rewatch the tape like, what did I do wrong? As far as the record is concerned. But there was, a hole there. Just make sure that you do the things to adjust to that, and we'll see what happens down the road for him. But I think he's got potential for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I mean, Martinez, though, that I one thing I did want to say about him is that, like, I think that with him, he needs to like, if he's going to be continuing on in the higher levels of this sport, he needs to also fix the way that he conducts himself at close range. Because when you're fighting a guy like Tom Nolan, who is longer, your options are a little bit more limited. You know what I mean? Like, and he's not a huge guy. I don't see exactly how tall he was, but he was. I mean, Tom was was kind of like over him a lot. Like, you need to be more active with your feet. You need to be quicker. And I think that like he wasn't. He's 5'8". I mean, compared to some of these dudes who are in the 5'10", 6 foot range. You got to be like faster earlier is what I would say about that.
One more passing moment on this fight, just because
Sure.
it might spark up something. If you go back to that ESPN page, actually, for Tom Nolan, and they used to do this a lot. You may have been in the Discord when I brought this up. Back when they like announced fighting style, like on the banner at the bottom, when they would announce them, it would say like their name, region, height, and like their fighting style. Look at Tom Nolan's fighting style right there. That shit says ninja. That is crazy.
Where is this on the ninja?
What in the world, man?
Well, ninjutsu. What can I say? I know. One is a mixed martial artist. The other is fighting in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
He's fighting alongside the new lead characters in Assassin's Creed.
What he's doing. Crazy. But anyway, okay, on to the next one.
All right, so we're on main card already.
I was starting to drink very heavily.
Yeah, you did mention that you got a little deep in there.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad. I honestly, Luana's another person that I've seen before, and I actually, let me double check. She got knocked out last fight, I'm pretty sure. Oh, she lost. No, yeah, Amanda Ribas. That's right. She got a spinning head kick from Ribas and then got
hell yeah, she did. Really nice one
at
too.
the end of the fight. So that's where I knew her from. So I was like, okay, and arguably, she was giving Amanda, some action in that fight.
Absolutely.
So
that was a very competitive fight.
So I was kind of interested when I saw her face. I was like, wow, like, okay, here she comes. Let's see what happens, especially against somebody whose record is at the time 16-13, which is ridiculous.
Brother.
And like Elite just said, I thought Angela was the bottom of the barrel. Dog. The barrel gets lower. I don't know how to explain it. Jeez.
Well, so what I always say about Angela Hill, like her as a person, she's got a very, very nice personality. I've heard her on commentary a couple of times. She's a good lady. She fucks up more of my parlays than any other person I can think of. Like, any time that I have ever had or not had her on a parlay, it just goes sideways. Like, whatever card that she is on, she's constantly fucking it up. So, like, I mean, this is another example of a person, I think, who you could make the case that she's evolving as a fighter as she's getting later in her career. She's 39 years old. I mean, she's not a spring chicken in this game. So it is nice to see that she's adjusting and making these improvements, moves up in the rankings. I mean, she was already what, like 13 or something like that. I mean, she was where was she at before this? I mean, because I know that she had a number, but let's see. Does it say it on here?
So I asked.
But anyway,
myself,
Sorry, go ahead.
why she would. No, yeah, I asked myself why she would be here. Being 16 and 13 and all. And I think the easiest question is because she has the Anthony Smith effect. You either want to see her lose or you want to see her win, and it's like she's not a person you just don't care about. I honestly didn't even know she existed until this card, but after seeing that record, I'm ready to see her lose every single time. Jesus, Lord have mercy. Yeah.
Hey, I don't know about all that, but I mean, yeah, so she was 12. I mean, I mean, unless that's updated, but it might be by now. It is Monday, but so I mean, whether or not like she was already ranked, moving up. Give her a top 10 and see if she can do the same thing at top 10. That would be my assessment of that at this point. And if she can't, for fuck's sake, just I'm never betting on a card with her on it again. I think is really what I'll say with that. I don't want to see her out of the organization or anything like that. She's getting wins. I mean, she's just one of those chicks with a very spotty record. Like, another one that has the candy cane effect over here. A couple wins, couple losses, couple wins, couple losses. So, what she can do later on in her career to prove that all of these elements are now coming together to form a fully formed fighter that is worthy of a top 10, top 5 slot. Now is the time to fucking show it. So give her that top 10 shot, and then I guess we're just gonna have to assess from there.
I will say too, she got a dope nickname, Overkill. That's a really good one.
Yeah, hell yeah,
a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next fight, another finish, and honestly, after seeing how old this dude looks, this Salvador. Wow, man. Like, I don't know. Do we know how old this dude is? Let's actually find out, because I don't think it's as old as he should have looked, because he looked really bad. And he's on he's got 3 back-to-back L's here. Well, he's 27. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a hard 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, so what I recall from this fight was thinking the same thing that Dom Cruz was saying on commentary, was that Adrian Yanez, which I guess got to keep that in mind now, although apparently you can say it both ways. So Adrian Yanez, however you prefer to refer to him. Adrian Yanez was actively seeking the counter finish. That is effective when you can get it, like what he did here. I think that there are going to be plenty of fighters that are going to be able to, negate that, like, straight out the gate. I mean, like, I like the way he was hunting for it was so telegraphed. It was kind of, I think that it reflected more poorly on Salvador that he didn't see it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. He would, like, the way that he was stalking for it. It was just every time that there was something thrown out, it was just, okay, like, let me get that power shot. Let me get that power shot. And like Dom said, it was like he's loading up on these power shots. I was thinking in my mind as all that was going on, I was like, if he thinks that he's going to be able to get away with this entire fight, he's got another thing coming. But luckily for him, it worked out. Yeah, got a lot of power for a bantamweight.
He should have definitely switched it up. Like, he didn't shoot for it. Like, after, like you said, he's loading up for the shot. He's looking for the one big shot. It's like, don't give him the confidence that he's going to be able to get that off. Like, don't let him, play his game, start wrestling and do something. Try to get into the grappling. Like, geez.
Absolutely. And that's really what I was getting at there too, is that, like when you're playing that game, especially as early in the fight as it was. I mean, this is under halfway through the first round that this was all, or just over halfway through the first round rather. So, I mean, like, when you're that early in the fight, to allow for that amount of freedom of movement from your opponent, I mean, like, again, I think that it really is just more of a negative showing from Salvador's side, that he wasn't, like, doing more that he could have been doing when you have a completely wide open space to do it. I mean, like, if he's sitting there just, like, saying, give me everything that you got, and you say, okay, like, that's a little bit of a low fight IQ move in and of itself there. So, yeah, I mean, this to me, nice win for Yanez. I mean, it was, obviously a beautiful shot that did it. I don't think that it was a great skill showcase from either side based on the factors that we just laid out. Because there's going to be the higher ups in the bantamweight division are going to, I mean, that's not going to be, that's just not going to fly.
unfortunately, everything on paper, does come out the same, a win, a knockout, but it's like sometimes you do got to shuffle these into categories, like the stipulations that come with the finish. You
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. No, definitely. I mean, and those are the things that when you're placing your bets out there, like, when we talk about, these parlays and why these lines are the way that they are when somebody's, a minus 250 favorite versus, a plus 300, like, these are the things that factor in the most, regardless of the record. Because you can look exactly like you said, you can look at the record there, after the fact. I mean, his maybe he might be a little bit of a bad example because of the number of fights that he has, but a fighter in a different position who has, let's say it's a 7-2. You know what I mean? Those two or those seven, like they factor in a lot when it comes to like the actual specifics of them. So keeping those things in mind, same with Tom Nolan that we were just talking about, right? I mean, because had that strike been a more effective one that he got caught with, could have been a completely different fight, completely different
Yeah.
outcome. So, so yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of those deals where Giannis needs to just be a little bit more active with mixing it up as opposed to just hunting for it. I mean, a first round knockout always looks good. It was nice on the highlight reel, but you start fighting your way back up. I mean, Adrian Yanez has been around for a while too. I mean, this is this is
Yeah.
not a new guy here. So I mean, like, you really want to be a little bit more of a well-rounded performer in that regard, I think.
Yeah, that was the last point I think that I was gonna make is like we were talking about Tom Nolan, what we want to see, backwards, sideways, shuffle out, stuff like that. He's got the benefit of the doubt because he's only had 8 fights.
For sure, for sure.
17-5 is kind of crazy for you to be telegraphing,
That's
your power punch that much.
exactly, absolutely, most definitely. And as we were saying, those are the things to keep an eye on when you're making your bets. Oh, because a lot of people who don't follow as actively as nerds like you and me do, they're gonna they just go straight off the record. Oh well, I mean, 7-2 record. That's
Right.
that's a, you know what I mean. It's there. The record doesn't tell the tale of the fight. So just be aware.
All right, so let's get into these last three that apparently won Elite some money.
Yeah, congratulations, Elite. Good stuff. And I did want to briefly just acknowledge on paper Anthony Smith beats Francis Ngannou. You got jokes, homie. But I mean, anyway, but yeah, congratulations on the win with that. But yeah, so this fight, I mean, a win, not. Yeah, it
Not much.
wasn't.
I mean, really, there's just
Yeah,
not much to say about it. He even said, I'm sorry for the boring fight." Like, I mean, I get it. If you look at the numbers, though, it was a dominating performance. Like, he held him down for 10 minutes. He stuffed 7 takedowns out of the 8. 5 of his takedowns went through, and the striking wasn't even close. So shout out to Themba. I actually didn't think he was going to win this one. I had him down in the predictions, but honestly, like, he's been around for a little bit now, and he knocked out the last 2, but it was kind of like we were just talking about. Like, you got to look at the stipulations behind it. It wasn't like
right.
a crazy knockout against some crazy guy. It was just an average run of the mill knockout that happened. So I wasn't too big on this one, but shout out him. He figured it out and he got it done.
He did, and well, so actually, that's literally what I was just gonna touch on was his post fight speech. Elite saying he didn't like it. I mean, I thought it was pretty impassioned, and I could understand what he was like where it was coming from. I mean, he obviously there's a lot of emotional and unfortunate situations that went into the training camp with his team and everything like that. We don't need to get into all the specifics, but I thought that the passion was certainly there, and I guess I can understand why he wanted to be so wrestling heavy. Based on that, you can find out the details there on your own. But all of that being said, this was yet another one that I think, going back to the, I've been referencing that Alatong Hele versus Clayton Rodriguez fight a lot in our assessments here. This was another one that smacked of that the same criticisms where dude, if you're going to be doing these clinch heavy situations, you got to do something with it. It's the intention that, like, fight with a purpose. That is always what, like, all that I ever want out of fighters ever, really. I mean, go in there with a clear focus on winning. Have a game plan at all times. That's all I'm ever looking for. And it just looked like to me another one of these situations where it was a lot of neutralization without a lot of intention. And that, it ended up to me being a performance that I think could have been a lot more impressive for him. And after a speech like that, with all of those factors in play, I would have liked to have had that for him,
Yeah, that would have been honestly, like you just actually said, if he would have had an actual dominating performance, maybe got the finish, that would have been a really impactful, kind of moment for him in the grand scheme of, popularity, marketing, anything for them. But like, I mean, obviously sky's the limit still, but like that in this sport, one, you don't have a big window. So you got to capitalize on the moments if you really want to, make waves. But all in all, I mean, he got the dub. So
yeah, I mean, 33 years old, so I mean, he has come into prime age here. I mean, like, now would be the time to start, making the big push. I mean, Alina's saying in the chat that Brahimai was initiating more of the grappling. I don't specifically recall that, but what I do recall is that a lot. Again, I keep referencing it, but when it makes sense, I'll do it. Like the Alatong Hele fight, when those grappling exchanges were initiated, regardless of who started it, he was doing a good job of countering the body movements to get himself into a more dominant position there. So credit to him for that. But like, these pieces need to be put into place again. When you're fighting welterweight, man. I mean, like, you think that Leon Edwards is going to let some shit like that fly? Please, bro. That there's no fucking way on the planet that would be happening to him. I mean, even if he got him up against the cage, it really would just be a straight neutralization to the point that they'd have to get broken up, because Edwards' takedown defense is too fucking good. So I mean, like, I use that as an example. He's obviously way out of the league at this point, but the fact remains,
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, shout out Themba. Got it done.
Yeah, sure. And look, I mean, as far as from the human aspect of it, obviously his story is remarkable. You'll love to see a guy like that succeed.
Still going through his story. I mean, it's
right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you love to see it for a guy like that. And, fuck the haters, really, I think is what I said on the watch along, I was listening to what he was saying, and I was like, man, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Fuck y'all out there talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's why whenever we're being critical of these fighters, I always try to keep it as respectful as possible, out of respect for the immense things that they're doing in the cage. Y'all motherfuckers ain't trying to do this shit. Shut up.
Yeah, facts.
So, anywho, there we go.
And so to start the next one, yeah, Elite, for the whole week, you kept telling me Chaos Williams is going to take the dub. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. I know who this Kalen Williams guy is. I don't know who Chaos Williams, but if you go to ESPN, he's listed as Chaos Williams, but he also is listed as, his nickname is the Ox Fighter, not Chaos. So I don't know, Chaos the Ox Fighter. Okay, so it's both of them. It's just
he's got two nicknames for some reason. He's double nicknamed.
But I mean, I guess rightfully so. Because he came out and got the finish. So
boy, howdy did he.
These last two, you're gonna have to go ahead and steer, because I mean, even with them, but I don't remember anything about that. That was just one round for me. But the finish here, the fact it happened in a minute or a minute and a half in the round one, and that I was rooting on was it Charleston Harris? Yeah, it was a bad bet on me.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, the next fight, the main event, is a little bit more of we can go into a little bit more detail there. But for this one, really, we were just talking about how the stats don't always tell the tale of the fight. This one, they certainly did, because I mean, this was really just go out there and get the job done, and that's exactly what Chaos Williams did, man. Really, really clean striking, and the shot just, it was a nice, pretty much a single shot, if I recall. I mean, it wasn't like a crazy flurry situation or anything that did it. Basically, what happened was Carlston Harris was coming in, and Chaos was kind of deep inside. Carlson he was thrown to the side of the head, almost basically got the back of the head, which, illegal strike, but in the moment, whatever. It wasn't one that was going to, change the trajectory of the fight. And then just from that position, the power that Chaos Williams generated in that close range, man, that was a thing of beauty, dude. I would go back and watch that highlight if you need to get a refresher on it, because it was something nice. Chaos Williams is one of these guys that has he had a lot of hype around him coming on early. Had just a couple of stutters, but a couple of stutters against guys who are really.
You lose to Michelle and Randy Brown. That's not that bad.
That's what I'm saying. That's why the conversation around him was odd to me for that exact reason. I mean, he's beaten guys that he's supposed to beat, and he's losing to guys that are on, really nice trajectories now. So,
making it to decision with Michelle, I mean, as we see now, is kind of difficult.
Made it to decision with Michelle and a split decision with Randy Brown. So these are not bad losses, man. I mean, give the guy his fucking props. I mean, the oddness around him was strange to me. I was not understanding where the criticisms were coming from, because when he is on fire, I mean, this guy really sets it on fire. I mean, in a couple of these wins, I mean, the Great White's going to be fighting on the 302 card. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Do a little preview of that. But a win over him, beat Matt Semmelsberger. I mean, these are decent wins. Beat Bedoya. I mean, these are good wins for him, and a lot of a split decision here and there, whatever. I mean, that's it's going to happen, but I didn't understand where people were coming at him with this criticism, but now silence the fucking haters yet again, because that was a really, really clean knockout against Carlston Harris, who I wanted to root for too. He's from Guyana, a very underrepresented country in combat sports, and one that I have a little bit of history with. So I like to rep the Guyanese people if I can. So I felt a little sad about that aspect of it, but hey, man, when you're hot, you're hot. Chaos Williams, Ox Fighter, hot on the moment.
All right, main event. Let's see what you got.
All right, so the main event was one of the nicest performances that I've seen in the arguably, one of the highest technical divisions that there is in the organization. I mean, Lerone Murphy. To say that Lerone Murphy did everything right is honestly an understatement against Edson Barboza, who we in the Discord were saying is like a dude who's been aging in reverse. I mean, the guy is physique wise and skill level. I mean, you just can't keep the guy. He's like a zombie. It's like, you put him down, he comes back. For Lerone Murphy to be able to outclass him as consummately as he did, I mean, this was just, you want to talk about a highlight performance. This wasn't even like highlight moments. This was start to finish, utilizing his feints so beautifully. That's the thing that struck me the most. And one thing that I think is why Lerone Murphy is going to be very dangerous to this division. I'm pretty hot on the guy right now, because I mean, when the way that he was mixing up his attacks paired with his feints, there's no predicting what he's going to do. I mean, we talk about that. We talked about that in the Adrian Yanez fight with the telegraphing, this kind of stuff. Like, if you can mix up your attacks in concert, to me, the most appropriate way to describe it was in concert with the feints and the fakes that he was performing. It was just something that was really beautiful to watch. I mean, it was a spectacular performance. I give him a lot of credit. Guy's 14-0 for a goddamn reason, and I think he's going to be a massive, massive problem for these featherweights.
Well, 14-0, like you said. So I was getting to the point. I definitely bet against him. Not gonna lie. I thought Barboza was gonna walk right.
And rightfully so. And let me make that clear before you go on. Just rightfully so, because Edson Barboza is not. He's a dude who has gotten the job done time and time again. Also against fighters who have been in similar situations.
And so the fact that you walk in here, and I mean, look at the numbers, because that's all that I can go off of, because I was completely obliterated for this. That 5 rounds went so quick. You have no idea. So anyway, for you to be able to land 259 strikes on Barboza, right? Mm-hmm. And for him to throw 242 and not even land 80 against you, like you really worked him over. Like you figured it out, and you didn't let him do anything. like Elite said, he nullified Barboza's game plan. Like, that's pretty difficult. Like, Barboza's kind of an animal.
Yeah, no, yeah, gotta be careful for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a situation where from the opening of the fight to the very end of the fight, he was doing everything correctly. I mean, like, I'd say that a lot of times in fights where it's like, this is, I kind of, I think I throw that out a little bit loosely sometimes where I say everybody, he's doing everything right. He's doing everything right. This was an example of that to a T. I mean, like, like, because he started, so what I had said early in the fight, actually, and it's very prescient point based on the entirety of the performance. Early on in the fight, I think it might have been like late in round 1 or in round 2, I was saying that Edson Barboza is having trouble figuring him out. He's having trouble figuring out where the attacks are coming from, and in turn, he's having trouble, answering that. And he kept that. The fact that he was able to keep that at the pace he was doing it for 5 rounds against Killer Barboza over here, it just speaks volumes. I mean, I'm heaping on the praise here, but in this case, I really think it's entirely warranted. That's why I brought the rankings up over here. I'm like, honestly, after a performance like that, I mean, really, like, to me, just off of that performance, and I know that there's so many other factors with the other fighters. A lot of guys. The one thing I would say too, to preface where I was going with this, is that Barboza wasn't engaging. And like he did not want to go to the ground. He wasn't trying to to do any kind of wrestling whatsoever. So I mean, maybe there might be something there for his future competition. But that aside, like, let's just, if going off of this performance and how he mixed up the striking as effectively as he did, I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of these guys. I mean, really, like, I wouldn't be mad at seeing him against.
You're on lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, featherweight. My bad.
No, yeah, you're good. So let's see. Did he? I mean, he easily could be over Sadiq. I mean, he lost to Edson. I mean, if you just want to pull up MMA math right there, Edson finished, not finished, but oh yeah, he did finish. Edson finished Sadiq. Lerone beat Edson. I mean, Edson can move down. Lerone can jump into the rankings. Dan Ige, that's interesting. I still want to see him up there though.
I mean, bro, like after a fight like that, do you give him Diego Lopez?
Oh no.
Do you? I don't know. I don't know, man.
That actually might be a fire matchup, because the ones that you really don't want to see, like when you think in your mind, like, man, I really don't want to see him have to go through something like that, or I don't want to see this game plan match up with this one. It's like, that's really the ones that you want to see, or you got to find out who's actually the best mixed martial artist, when it comes to it.
Absolutely. I mean, and that, look, a lot of these guys are guys that I like a lot. I mean, yeah, I mean, so yeah, after he took the number over, I mean, I guess you're not going to, you're not going to have him fight down. That doesn't necessarily make sense for him for sure. Elite saying Calvin Kattar, I think that's a fire matchup, especially after that fucking ridiculously poor performance that he had against Aljo. He needs to redeem himself in a big way, and a win over Lerone Murphy would be the exact way to do it. I like that matchup a lot. They're saying that Bryce Mitchell's already got a dance partner. I don't know, what that all is going to be, but going up. I mean, dude, him versus Giga would be a great fight. Giga with the kicks, all of the effective range attacks that Giga has. I like that. Josh Emmett with the power striking. That was actually a matchup that I'd seen in the discussion groups, people talking about, saying that, with Josh Emmett being slightly on the tail end of his career, possibly making one last run, that would be a really nice way for him to regain his traction, and a beautiful way for Lerone Murphy to shoot up the ranks if they want to give him that fight. But I mean, dude, after Arnold Allen's last performance, UK versus UK would make sense to me. I'm telling, bro, I'm looking far up the rankings for this guy, and I don't think I'm out of line.
Yeah, no, I was actually gonna say, because I'm looking at, if you imagine, he takes Edson's spot, or all around, because the only reason I say that is because if you look down, Carlos Ulberg, like last week, he just jumped into the rankings over Guskov. And which is kind of crazy to me, from non-ranked all the way, to 11th past some dude who just, anyway. But the point that I'm making,
yeah, for sure,
there's a lot of people in that, like Mosvar. That's a good wrestling versus feint striking heavy. Like, that would be a really good one to see. if you're reaching that far up. I mean, Josh Emmett is another good one because one, we don't know when he's coming back or who it's against, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I mean, Elite makes a good point. Arnold Allen is booked. I mean, we're just doing fantasy fights anyway here, of course. But yeah, I mean, really, I'm just looking purely off of the technical ability and how that stacks up against some of these guys. I'm telling you, like based on that performance, and I mean, maybe I'm being clouded here, but I don't think so. When you have a 14-0 record, I mean, him versus Yair makes sense to me. I'm saying, I know it's a little bit of a hot shotty move, but when you are that nice and you gotta also, I think that's the theme of this stream overall in general. This assessment is that the tail of the fight, right? It's not just that you have 14 wins. It's the technicality that goes into the wins. And if he was able to do that against Edson Barboza, who is a veteran, a dude who's been around for so long. You don't think that Edson Barboza has fought a guy who has come in mixing it up before? Edson Barboza's seen everything, I would think, at this point.
right.
So it doesn't matter. It's like, sometimes there are fighters who can do those things, and you can anticipate some level, even if it, obviously when it's like he's mixing it up as much as he was, there's a lot more variation. So it's not like you can anticipate the individual strikes, but you can know coming into a fight, this guy's going to mix it up. This guy's going to be tricky. He had to have had some inkling of that. I mean, even if you knew that, if he did know that and he was able to still do it, that speaks volumes in and of itself. I'm super hot on the guy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up in the rankings, but it was definitely a good one for UK. I mean, they seem to be figuring it out. Like they seem to be.
Well,
it's hard to it's hard to not say that because they do have people in the top contending spot. But
I love the UK. I have great admiration and respect for UK fighters. What I would say to that statement is, we've seen many times them figuring it out and it not getting figured out. But we got Leon, defended champion. I mean, he's defended now. I mean, he's defending again. If he can win again, it's a beautiful thing. I mean,
Tom Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall, of course, obviously as well. So I mean, the reason I say that is not to say that it can't happen. The reason I say that is because I'm apprehensive because of history. But yeah. I would love to see it. Absolutely, I would love to see it. Don't put Arnold Allen in that camp, bro. Elite. I know you love the guy, but I don't see it. I don't know, man. I like, it's not that he's a good fighter. I don't know if he's a great fighter.
He's top tier, but he's not the top.
He seems like he could be a dude who ends up in a very similar situation to Rob Whittaker. You know what I mean? Like a dude who sticks around forever. Everybody likes him. Fan favorite back home, but whether or not he can actually like get the job done when it's all on the line remains to be seen. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying, you got to be honest in the assessments. But yeah, I mean, Lerone Murphy coming in, I would think he has to be at least, I mean, he's definitely going to be at least 12th. I would think he's probably going to be 11th. I think he's probably going to take over Bryce's spot.
Push Sadiq out.
Yeah. Sad to say, but I think that's just got to be.
I think, just to make a passing moment, I think he'll have a big comeback performance. I don't think we're going to see him get knocked out again.
Sadiq Youssef, you're talking about?
I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'll give him a can, and he walks in and dominates.
Yeah, I don't think that Sadiq is out in the slightest. I mean, from that, just to touch on that fight. I mean, I think that yet another learning experience. I mean, you got overwhelmed early. You got to be anticipating, because I think that's one of those like that's almost like a philosophical kind of element to in cage, like the fighter in the cage. It's like, do you anticipate that level of aggression early? Which, I mean, I think another great example of that was the last two from Michel Pereira. I mean, thboth of those times, just overwhelming. I mean, like, so you like
0
a lot of
100.
these, and so it's like you have to be, if you're not going to go out there and do that yourself, if you want to be a little bit more plotting, you have to have that in your mind that the potential is there for that. So hopefully that's a little bit of a learning experience for Sadiq. And but yeah, I agree. I don't think that I don't think he's out in the slightest. I mean, he's got potential still early and younger.
Yeah. So what I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because we have an off week, do you want to save the next card to talk about? 302?
We could, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to do that next Monday, I mean, we could definitely do that. Call it a little bit of an earlier evening tonight, if you're feeling that. We do have an off week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably just best, because if we do it this week, then next week I feel like we're gonna be cooked if we try to.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we could talk about more cards, but like.
Well, and what I used to do on Yema Talk Live to talk MMA news of the day, which I always find interesting because I like the human aspect of MMA, all the goofiness that goes on. The circus aspect of it is very fun for me. So there's potential there too. But we could do both.
All right.
But yeah, so I mean, just I guess to put a cap on this assessment here. I mean, I was very happy with this card. I thought that it was a really nice one overall, as far as some of the standout performances. A good heaping helping of goofball shit to keep me entertained and keep me scratching my head. So overall, a fun evening of fights, and we're just gonna have to see where some of these guys go. But Lerone Murphy was the story of the event, man. I think that guy's got a very, very bright future if he can keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, a lot of people on this card. I mean, we're gonna see him peppered in throughout, pay-per-views and other fight nights for, months and years to come.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not months, but years to come.
Well, I mean, sometimes quicker than not. I was just looking up in anticipation of us talking about 302. I was looking through a little bit of that, and I was so surprised to. I guess I had known it, but didn't mentally acknowledge it. But to see Alex Morono fighting again after him just fighting like fucking couple months ago, or if that even, I think like maybe a month ago. I mean, like, why the fuck that guy is taking back-to-back fights like that just seems very strange to me. But I mean, he is a little bit later in his career, so I guess he just wants to stay active while he's still got it. But either way, so to the point, so who knows? Some of these guys could be coming right back. I mean, we got Andre Lima also on that card. We just saw him a couple weeks ago. I mean, so. It's always watch as much fighting as you can if you want to be as up on this sport as possible, because it's a sport that moves both fast and slow at the same time.
And somebody that could have lost tonight, they could come back and have a really big win, and they're just on a different trajectory that they would be after we just saw them.
Absolutely.
Just how quickly the sport goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, with Chaos Williams, like I said, the whole discussion was about if he's as good as people think he is, was he a hype train that, that wasn't warranted, blah, blah, blah. Goes out and does what he does, right back in the conversation. So good card overall. It was a good time. All right. Well, I mean, I guess then that is about it for that. Was there anything else that you did want to talk about MMA wise? I mean, any current event stuff that's going on that needs discussing? I mean, we've kind of been having the Discord chats, but
Connor, I mean, he was streaming a little bit ago. I didn't watch anything of it. He was
live on Instagram. Oh, he was gambling on Kick. Okay.
Yeah, and he was talking a bunch of stuff. I put the link in the Discord of all like the video of him saying a bunch of stuff. So it was kind of entertaining, but there ain't really nothing new. Like I said, off weekend coming. There's not going to be much.
What are your opinions of Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva boxing?
Well, it was first announced as Terry Crews and Anderson Silva.
Yeah, how wacky is that?
I was very confused, and then when I get on Twitter, I have, I'm following a couple Brazilians, like natives, and they're like, honestly, guys, if you think this is crazy, best believe Terry Crews is bigger than Anderson Silva out here. It was like the craziest revelation. And then Terry Crews dips out, or Anderson Silva ducks him, which is even the crazier thing. Like, I don't know. And then now they're fighting Chael Sonnen.
Is that what they're saying happened?
Is they're saying that Anderson Silva declined?
Really?
I think he picked Chael Sonnen over Terry Crews. And I don't know if you can look through Terry Crews' life. I don't think you'll ever find that he was a boxer.
That's literally
boxing.
Yeah.
No,
That's
He's just a guy
exactly
who,
what I was why I was coming to the page. I was like, I knew he was a football player. I was like, does he have any combat sports experience whatsoever? Like, where the fuck is this even coming from?
yeah, no, it was probably the weirdest thing ever. Like, I don't know, out of maybe if you want to go as far as like, oh, it was just a publicity thing for the fight. It's like, why would you get Terry Crews to say that he's fighting him? Like, I'm so confused. Like, it was a weird.
It's all just very head scratchy. But I mean, really, the cherry on top of all of the wackiness is the fact that this is Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen again. I mean, like, how the fuck does that, like, so I don't want to tip the hand too much because this is I don't know if it's going to be the next video. I've been working on this big project for a very long time. I've been kind of hinting at it for a while. It involves Chael Sonnen and going back through the history of him with Anderson Silva, him with Vanderlei. I mean, how Chael Sonnen has just remained in this fucking bubble that he has been in with the Brazilian fighters. Like, it's just really strange to me. Like, it's the whole thing is odd. He seems comfortable with it, and like, now this is happening. I just, it's like I said, the whole thing is strange. From the Terry Crews aspect to this being the announced fight, I'm just like, it kind of makes my head spin a little bit. But I guess we're just going to have to see what happens. As Elite says, I mean, I don't see how Chael Sonnen stands even the slightest of a chance on the feet against Anderson Silva. I mean, even without the kicks in play, I mean, Anderson, come on, man. It's Anderson fucking Silva over here. I mean,
Yeah, two things. One, this will probably be just a very fun type of thing. Like with Jake Paul and Anderson Silva, they look like they were just kind of having a fun exhibition type of match, And that's
exactly.
probably what this will be, just fan service. But it's also a twofold. I don't know if you know, and maybe Chael's just talking, but he says he's fighting Masvidal after this in boxing.
Yeah, you
So
mentioned that. That to me, he's got to just be trying to make headlines with that shit. There's no way that fight happens, right? I mean, come on.
I don't know, man. Chael's a magical guy sometimes. Now he's got a show with Daniel Cormier. He's fighting Anderson Silva. He's having a resurgence, really. I mean, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, you do make a good point with that. Somehow, Chael is like maybe I don't mean this in a rude way, but like, how they say, like, after the apocalypse, like, only the roaches will survive. Like, Chael Sonnen is,
there you
go. Like, he just somehow finds a way to survive in this shit, keep himself relevant. And I mean, yeah, that would be another one that would, I mean, I guess if he like has any kind, even if he loses this fight, if he has any kind of decent showing, if it is just kind of a nice little fan servicey kind of fun deal. I mean, I don't think Masvidal would take it that easy on him, though. I think that I don't think Masvidal is one of those kind of guys that wants to go out and have those kind of little fun fights. You know what I mean? Like, he's still got that dog in him.
Yeah, exactly. And well, you could tell after he knocked out Ben Askren in the ASC interview. Did you think the shots, after you knocked him out, were necessary? No, they're super necessary.
Super necessary.
He's just not the type of guy where he'll just like go out there and play around. I guess.
Well, for sure. And I mean, they do have history. I mean, him and Chael Sonnen have gone back and forth a number of times, so I can understand where that part of it's coming from. But for Chael Sonnen to even like insinuate that fight is a potential thing that can happen just seems very, very strange to me. I guess we're just gonna have to see what ends up happening with it. But speaking of boxing, I guess to keep it within this realm, I don't follow boxing too closely. But did you catch any of the Fury Usyk fight?
Didn't watch it. I know it ended pretty quick because everybody came on over to the stream after that. Like, there was like 4 fights left, and they were like, "Oh my god, Fury just got beat the hell up." There were more.
No, that had to have been main event. No, I mean, and it went to decision.
Yeah, but it was a quick matchup. I think that it was probably like before the Chaos Williams. We were actually.
Oh, I mean, you mean it ended early time wise, yeah, because it was in Saudi Arabia. So I think that the main event was like at 7 or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I was expecting everybody to be watching boxing all night, but yeah, it went to decision, and from the highlights, Usyk looked like he got the better of him. I don't know what to say. I don't really. It's how it goes,
Yeah.
Top
I mean,
dog falls.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty impressive performance based on on, him being such a dwarfed individual compared to just the behemoth that Fury is. I mean, he's so
Yeah.
like Usyk is what, like 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that, and Fury is like 6'9". I mean, it's like two tall guys, but one massively tall guy. I
Yeah.
mean, it was it was a very strong showing. I had watched pretty much, I'd say, like from round 4 on. The method that I was able to watch it on was not the strongest
Yeah.
connection, let's say. But
I get
so
you.
there were things that I was missing, but overall, unfortunate for the UK fans. I know everybody really loves Tyson over there, but yeah, I mean, you really got to give it to Usyk. I mean, that, like, to be able to do what he did against a dominant champion and a dude who's just so much bigger, and somebody who's like, obviously Tyson Fury is a dude who, like, whether or not it's warranted, he's gonna come forward. You know what I mean? He really don't back down for much. Like, he's not really the most technical boxer. Like when all, like, in all of the when all of the cards are put on the table, like, I would say that Anthony Joshua is more technically sound than him. But he's just the size, the power, and the fucking in your faceness of him. For Usyk to be able to overcome that, really, really strong showing for him.
I think the problem with it is if I actually wouldn't have watched Francis and Fury, I probably would, be like, oh wow, this dude really beat like the greatest of all time. But the fact I watched Francis come off, virtually nothing and just show up and put him on the ground first off,
For sure.
and arguably win. I mean, Usyk beating him is just like, well, I guess his time's up. That's just how I feel about it. It's like,
Could very well be. And look, if it is, if that's the situation too, guy's got nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, he's
right.
got, he's done everything he needs to do. I mean, really, there's and apparently with the clause in the contract, Usyk's only going to be the champion for less than 2 weeks now, and then he has to vacate, and then they have a rematch for the I guess to.
Oh, what the heck? That's the craziest shit. See,
Yeah, well,
boxing is so wild.
yeah, I know. Yeah, so that was the thing that's kind of nuts about it, is so they had a rematch clause in their contract, so they are obligated to rematch. But Usyk was already under stipulation from the commissions to have to challenge the number one contender. So it's kind of, so he's going to be stripped no matter what if he honors the terms of the agreement, which it looks like he's planning on doing. So, boxing is a wacky world that I really don't pay too much attention to for that exact reason. There's just there's a lot of belts, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff I don't care about, and it's not as entertaining as MMA to me. I guess that's really where you kind of put the pin in it. But that's also, I guess, to bring it back to MMA. That's another reason why I am not super happy seeing all these MMA guys doing boxing. I would very much prefer that they don't go that route, because if only selfishly, it forces me to watch more boxing. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it, it's like when they do get older and they're trying to phase into a less combative sport. I mean, boxing makes sense. The celebrity boxing stuff makes sense because it's not as dangerous and it's not as,
Right.
it doesn't take as much of a toll, I guess. But yeah, no, it's boring. I'm not the person that's going to be paying for all that stuff.
Yeah, for real.
No
Bare
celebrity
Knuckles
boxing
okay.
matches for me. Bare Knuckles fine. I would actually, I'll make sure to catch the next one. But from here on out, yeah, no, boxing is off the list. Even Elite, like, he's, native UK. He even thinks boxing is terrible.
For sure. Yeah, and actually, to that point, just as a general note, next Saturday, because of the fact that we are going to be off from UFC, actually something that could be kind of fun if it works out. I have my dear homie Gustavo, who is training BJJ. He trains at one of the Gracie Academies here in town. I've been wanting to get him on the stream forever. This guy is he's hilarious, but he's also a dude he's in a lot of he's spread thin. He's in a lot of different places at a lot of different times. It's hard to nail him down for to actually get him on stream. But if we are able to get him, that would be awesome. So next Saturday, whether or not he shows up, we'll see about that. But what we are planning on doing is catching up on some of the ONE Championship fights. If you have not watched ONE, which I know that Chase, you've said that you're not as familiar with the ONE product, highly, highly recommend watching ONE. It is some of the most entertaining combat sports on the planet. The Muay Thai fights in there are insane.
Yeah, I definitely got to branch out to watch more of them. I know I keep saying it, but I swear, like, I figure if I'm in the loop long enough, I would get told about these promotions and when things are starting up. But to actually bridge onto something else with that note, the fact that Road to the UFC started last week, and they just told me that episode 2 is airing on last Saturday. Like, how are you making me not understand when your shows come out?
And
Like,
it's a fucking Fight Pass exclusive.
Like, it's actually ridiculous. So pay-per-view weekend, right? Or whatever. Not pay-per-view, St. Louis weekend. Why aren't you telling me, hey, Road to the UFC starts Tuesday? Why are you telling me the Saturday after that episode 2 starts next week? Like,
yeah,
and catch episode 1 in the rewind. Like, come on.
Well, and the fact that you have to have Fight Pass for it is ridiculous to me. I mean, like, you know, at this point, covering the sport as closely as we do, it's kind of dumb that we don't have Fight Pass at this point. I think that it's probably the next investment coming up when when the funds are able to accommodate it. But either way, I mean, something like that where you've got Contender Series, you've got Tough. Put that out there for the people, man. Let them see what's going on. I mean, they're graduating some decent fighters from that. Decent is the operative word, but contenders.
It actually doesn't make any sense why it's not on there because, like you said, Tough is on there. Contender Series is on there. Dana White looking for a fight when that was a thing. I'm pretty sure that was on there. Why is Road to the UFC not? Like, I don't get why it's only exclusive to not. Like, it's so crazy.
Because the ESPN deal is ass and ESPN Plus is ass. That is really what it comes down to.
We're moving on from it by the end of the year.
I hope so, man. Like, when I saw that, I think I posted that in the Discord about that new service that they're putting together. I forget the name of it. I think it's called Venue. If that ends up happening, God, I hope that they sign either that or Netflix or somebody, man. Get it off of ESPN Plus, dude. As a person who watches hockey as well as MMA, nowhere near as much hockey as MMA, of course, but I that's literally the only thing that ESPN Plus offers me besides MMA, and it doesn't even offer MMA enough, and it doesn't really even offer hockey enough because we're in the playoffs right now, and I have to go to other places to watch the playoff games. So ESPN Plus can fucking suck a bag of dicks. I really hate. I have nothing but contempt for that streaming service, and I hope they get away from it.
Well, Elite asked, when is this episode? And I honestly don't even know. I wish the schedule was a lot easier to see. Because, like, why can't I just Google these things and find the answer? Like, why do I have to go on rabbit holes to find UFC content?
Yeah, legit. What season is this even of it? Is it 3 or is it 2? Road to the UFC schedule.
I think it's
season 3. Okay, yeah.
Episode 1 airs on May 18th. Episode 2 airs on May 19th. What? Why would they do what?
Yeah, 18th and 19th. What this? Is it tournament style? Is that why?
I think it's just like the Contender Series. I think they just have a different brand to it.
That's very strange then that they would do it back-to-back nights. But no, I guess it can, because if it's only a 2-day event, this whole thing is very strange to me. I really don't know what to. Let's see. To date, 11. No, win to it. No, it is a tournament. Okay, it is tournament style. Yeah, got you. Okay, so it's a 2-day tournament deal. I guess that's why. They
film it like Tough, or and then they just release like the. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess they take the 2 days and break them down into four episodes, based on this anyway.
So wait a minute, they keep this show hidden and on Fight Pass for 4 goddamn episodes. Okay, I get it. Great.
Yeah.
But then the show that you have fucking 10 and a finale and like, all right. Whatever.
Yeah, really. They talk about premium content over here, right?
Jesus fuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would like to check it out too. It might be worth getting Fight Pass just to be able to take a look at it at some time. Plus, Fight Pass has so much other dope shit on it. LFA and Invicta and Those grappling events, the Eddie Bravo invitationals that they do. Actually, I think Hinata Moicano's doing one of those coming up.
Oh, for real?
I think so. I think I'd seen that. So so there's a lot on Fight Pass that's worth the price of admission. And I mean, again, based on the fact that ESPN Plus is such a fucking garbage product, I can't say enough negative things about ESPN Plus. It's just so bad. Like, it's so bad from front to back. There's so many easy fixes to it. It's I won't go down a whole road about Disney, but the fact that it's a Disney property, it makes a lot of sense, because there are a lot of easy fixes that they could be making that they just don't do. So
I get you. It's honestly, some of the stuff is like remedial.
Yeah, very much so. Basic streaming service stuff that you'd think at this point in history of streaming would be taken care of, that they just refuse to address. But anyway, all right. Well, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all that I got on the top of my mind right now. Was anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it. We can go ahead and call it.
Yeah, I think that's a good amount of information to throw at the fine viewers of this live stream. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. And so new video on the channel now. Actually, I guess let's end with that. Actually, just before we not to keep doing the Lord of the Rings thing. We're ending. But so were you able? I don't know if you had a chance yet to see the latest video or not, but did you?
Oh yeah,
able to check that out?
I turned it on. I'll even be more truthful. Okay. And this is maybe unfortunate to you, but just take this as a grain of salt. I turned it on my TV, right? I was like, hey, Dad, I got to watch this video real quick. I got to show the support. And about halfway through, my dad looked at me. And I knew he was going to do this because he don't like watching people talk. And that's the craziest part. But I was, up until that point, it was more informative than your typical, jovial style video.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
I didn't get about, I only got about halfway through before he was telling me to turn it off. But so I got to go back and finish it. But for up until the most point one, it's something that is very relevant, because there's plenty of fucking black belts out here that who gave them their belt. They I think it's Islam says it all the time. Like, who gave them black belt?
Right.
So anyway,
yeah. Well, and to put it all into context, the latest video, perfectly fine that you weren't able to watch it. But hey, Dad, you and me are going to have some words. All right, buddy? You let my videos play when Chase is watching them, okay? Clip that. But no, so to put it into context for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, the latest video is about Alex Pereira and him receiving his black belt at UFC 300. And that clip that you're mentioning there about Islam I actually have that in the video later on in there, so you'll see the exact quote about that. So anyway, the only reason I even brought that up, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. No,
you're good.
Take your time to watch it. Don't watch it at all. It's completely up to you.
Yeah.
But I was curious about your opinions about the whole idea of the merits of the BJJ black belt at this point in MMA, because that was really the catalyst for why I wanted to cover it.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting to see Alex get it, because as somebody who doesn't, I have never seen a ceremonial black belt giving, right? Like, I think maybe I saw one or two. I'm trying to think of who it was, but they got a belt, and it was because they subbed somebody, or they subbed another black belt, or dominated the ground. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like, I thought that was like a thing. Like, okay, you get it in front of the crowd, you did your thing, big stage. But Alex coming out knocking out Jamal Hill. Is Jamal Hill even like a great grappler? Like, even if he was, they didn't grapple at all. How'd that even? So maybe he was trolling, but it looked a little more serious than a troll. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, like, that was really more of the core of what it's all about, because the whole conversation that initiated all of that was between yourself and Elite, who's in the chat now. We were talking in the Discord, and I had said at the time it was probably granted to him in the cage, but earned outside of the cage, and over years of training and all of the things that go into achieving a black belt. And then upon the research, the waters got a little bit more muddy. So. So I mean, to me, that's actually why I covered it a little bit more straightforward than as boisterous as I sometimes get. With the heavy on the jokes and everything like that is kind of because I wanted to give it a little bit more reverence and credence than I give to some of the lighter stuff on in the MMA sphere, just because it's something that the practitioners of the sport take very seriously. So anyway, just to put a cap on all of that, that's what the video is about. And if you have strong opinions one way or another about it, I encourage you to leave them in the comment section of that video, because the whole point of posting it was to get people's opinions about it and kind of have a civil dialogue about the merits or lack thereof, or whatever your opinions might be. So.
One last thing I'll say, just to keep
Sure.
it actually on that topic, is you mentioned in the video that sometimes, they'll get black belts if they are, they know what they're doing, or they can present themselves knowing what they're doing, or they're able to teach it to others. I've seen plenty of videos of Alex with people, and him and his translator got to be really fucking good, because like normally Alex is telling the person and they do exactly what he's saying, but he's translating and the other guy's translating to him. So they're really on it. And I've seen Alex do jujitsu stuff with groups of like, younger guys. And like, maybe he really is just able to tell them specifically how to do it. And he's just not able to do it himself. Like, he's great at other things, but maybe it's past his time where his body is able to do what his mind is like going with on like the grappling stuff.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that is a valid point. I kind of counter those arguments a little bit in the video, but I mean, if that is the justification, that's a justification for sure. I mean, I wouldn't
let it be known, at least. Like, don't leave us as the audience wondering, why does this dude have a black belt when he's never won a competition, he's never, blah 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 blah. Well,
and in the broader context, another reason I touched on it a little bit, but I didn't say it outright in the video, is that there was a post probably maybe like a month ago in one of my discussion groups that I'm in, where somebody had said, what it was Jan Blachowicz talking about how he wanted a rematch, and the guy that made the post was saying, he's like, you tell him, Jan, because, you exposed him on the ground. And if you go back and watch that Jan Blachowicz fight, he really was doing a pretty goddamn good job on the ground with him. In the moment, I mean, like, you can, did Alex win the fight? Fair that he won. I'm not mad at it. But in the moment, I kind of thought that Jan was getting the better of it. I think that it was really, really razor thin at best, and at worst, it might have, Jan might have taken that fight. So that being said, going forward with Alex, if I mean, he's the champ now. I mean, he's got a lot of people gunning for that spot. Everybody knows now. I mean, they already knew, but everybody knows now for sure that you don't want to strike with him. I mean, like, you are in for a very bad time if you like. I would. We talked earlier about people like running and gunning early from the start of the fight. I think that an effective strategy against him would be to immediately go in for the double leg, just from
exactly
as far down the cage as your back is against the other corner. You just go straight in for the double leg and don't let go.
And it's actually funny. So Jan thought the same thing. Like, you could see it. I mean, he even said before, I'm going to stand with him. And then in the first 5 seconds of the fight, that dude was shooting for a double leg. He knew something was coming. So
yeah,
high praise to Jan, because as he gets older and we haven't seen him fight, the last, loss, with Alex, it's like, okay, pretty close. He could have won that one. And then the draw with Ankalaev. Ankalaev, we see still at the top. Jan is arguably right there. So it's going to be interesting if we get him in there before, he obviously reaches his maximum potential, because he's one of those people that is getting better with his age, but it's not going to be there forever. He's not going to be 50 getting better. Like, he's already like 42.
Right. Well, and that's why I would say that the match to make, if you want to see him challenged, like if you want to actually see Alex like taking on some adversity, is to make that the Ankalaev fight. I mean, I think that's the clearest option for a really competitive fight, because I mean, like, I'm sure that there are other dudes like, Jamal Hill is chirping about wanting to get the rematch, all that kind of stuff, whatever. I mean, like, if you looking at where the rankings are, I mean, who's gonna strike with him? Yeah. Who is striking with him? I mean, you're gonna give Yuri another shot at doing it? I mean, like, if Yuri wants to go in and start using some effective wrestling, but he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, Rakic just took the loss. I mean, like, this whole top fucking really the top 10 is not fucking with him.
Now that, gosh. I don't know. Now that it's Roundtree that's out, right?
Yeah, fucking God.
Yeah, he got popped.
What a dude. That guy, talk about a dude who can't get out of his own fucking way, man.
Oh, really? This is a common thing.
Not
Not
that
common
specific.
in this area, not in this area. Yeah, but like him,
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
maybe. Okay.
He's just a dude who there's always something with him. Like he's just there. He's one of those guys that he doesn't pass the smell test. I think is the best way to put it. You know what I mean? Like there's just always something with him. It's like and he's a good fighter when he's on point. But then some shit like this happens. He's the one that had that really like devastating oblique kick that took German homeboy out. He was out for quite a
Yeah.
while from that. Was a devastating one, not legal blow. I'm not saying that it was a wrong move to make, but he's just got an air about him. I would say is like, the vibe is off with him, and shit like this is why, or at least punctuates that.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, now looking at it, Roundtree's out. He was gonna go up against Jamal. We're looking for Jan to come back. I mean, that's pretty close of a matchup to make 3 and 4, but Jan doesn't deserve somebody down the round. Like he doesn't deserve Johnny Walker or something like that. So
No, yeah, definitely not.
So Jan's gotta figure something. I don't know. I mean, I can probably give you an easy answer why they never rebooked, Ankalaev and Jan. It's because it was a boring draw or whatever you want to say. Maybe it wasn't
For sure,
boring, but like maybe
it
there's
was
a reason
boring.
they never
Yeah,
rebooked it.
I would class it as boring.
Yeah, Jamal and Hill got Jamal Hill got canceled. Not him, but his fight against Roundtree. So I don't know. Jan's got to have something coming because if not, I mean, they're just wasting everything left that he has, which is kind of sucks because he is pretty fucking good.
So Yuri and Hill for 303 is the question mark. I mean,
No,
yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I think Yuri's probably going to want to take a little bit more time than that.
unless it's Alex.
Yeah, right.
If it's Alex, he's taking it on whatever.
First, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess we can go down fantasy road all day long, but as far as like when it comes specifically to Alex, bringing it back to the overall point here is that I mean, just it's like Ankalaev is the last best hope at the moment, at least, unless they're really going to give Jan another shot. I mean, Champion 4 is not, I mean, that's certainly not out of the question, especially after we saw Steve Ursa get, a shot recently. I mean, Nikita Krylov might be an option.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy
guess.
is.
I mean, he's effective. I mean, seen him fight a couple times. He's he's fine in the rankings kind of thing. I mean, but there's a reason that you don't hear the name all that much, right? I mean, so yeah, but you've got Rakic who just took a loss. He ain't getting that. Jamal Hill maybe the rematch, but just because it was so quick, you could say, maybe it was fluky. I guess. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I guess that there is at least a somewhat of a logic to that. But really, again, going down this list, it's just, I mean, whatever it's going to be, it's got to be somebody who's going to challenge him wrestling wise, because we've seen what happens when that happens, and ain't nobody fucking with him on the feet.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I mean, you can't really argue it. Sets it up well. Sets up his one thing, the left hook. I mean, he sets it up.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's it's what we were talking about earlier as well, where it's like if you know what's coming and can't negate it, that's almost the scariest thing of all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you can do everything you want. It's like reminds me like when you're playing a video game and like you've already played the boss. You know what I mean? Like exactly what's gonna happen, but you just can't beat him, and it's just that's a tough one. So anyway, so I guess that's about it for this evening. But yeah, so if you're interested in the subject of the black belt, new video is on the channel out currently. I appreciate everyone who has watched. Make sure that you're liking, leaving your comments about that. Appreciate that. And we'll come back next Monday. We'll do the preview for the next card. That should, we'll do some research on that in the meantime. Have some interesting takes on that, hopefully. And yeah, I guess that really wraps all of my end up. Chase, where can the people find you? I ask you every week.
Twitter, man. I'm on Twitter, man. Creative Parton. Do that one. That's a good one.
How do you spell it?
Creative. CREATIVE Hopefully that's all right.
PARTIN. Hit up the homie. Make sure you're following my boy over here always putting out good stuff, putting out fighter edits, putting out reels, doing all kinds of cool stuff for you. A lot of great content coming from his side of the world. Hopefully some more short form stuff coming from me as well. We're gonna see if I can possibly get a Yama episode out. It's gonna be quick turnaround. I'm gonna be out of town this weekend, or later in the weekend. So we're gonna have to see what happens with that part of the schedule. But either which way, we will be coming back with some more content for you very soon in the MMA sphere. So thank you everyone for watching, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you, and we will see you in the next stream. Fight on.